So, the guy who directed this film is going to be the Kevin Feige of Star Trek. That's right. The Mummy, which I have barely been able to get through 17 minutes of. I can't watch the whole thing in a row because it, quite frankly, is the worst film I have ever seen. Filled with, I might even do a video review of it. It is filled with so many tropes and contrived just plot lines. I can't explain how bad it is. It's kind of how unexplainable how bad Star Trek Discovery is. But according to Deadline, Star Trek poised to become the new Marvel. CBS and Viacom merger brings franchises under one fleet. Well, at this point, it looks like Star Trek will have more control over their stuff than Marvel does. That's about it. That's about all I can say. Let me get over to the chat here. Hi, everybody. How's it going? Okay. I'm sorry this is late. My live streams are just going to be late for the next week because my house is in total chaos right now. I know it looks okay, but the office, I had to struggle to get it to a point where I could put it on screen. So, hi, everybody. Yes. So there's some very optimistic fans out there who I like. Okay, they're good people. They just want good Star Trek. That's what we all want. We all want good Star Trek, but there's optimism and then there's reality. And the reality is that if indeed Secret Hideout is still involved, and I know JJ is gone. JJ has gone over to Warner Brothers, but Star Trek Discovery looks like JJ Trek because it is JJ Trek. It's just JJ Kurtzman Trek. We have lens flares, Dutch angles, a camera that won't stay still, bridges that are too big. The tech doesn't match canon. It doesn't fit. And I listen, I've never had to have it look exactly like the old Star Trek did, but there was ways you could make it fit. And they didn't do it, and they gave it lip service, and I highly encourage you to watch my video where I am reviewing the Blu-ray special features from Star Trek Discovery Season 1, where they go into detail about how we looked at canon, but we wanted to go with this thing that looked cool. That was said by 4 separate people. And that's why we have this non-Star Trek that is a failure, because J.J. Abrams' Star Trek is a failure. And if you're using his template, it's still J.J. Abrams' freaking Star Trek. I don't care if he's there or not. I don't care if Bad Robot is there or not. There's lens flares. There's Dutch angles. It's the same damn thing. So if you're using a tired template that's now 10 years old, that was a proven failure in films, and now we hear people talk about Kurtzman bringing Star Trek to the theaters. I was on a Midnight's Edge live stream earlier, and I dare you to do that. I would love for them to make a Star Trek Discovery film, because then you couldn't fudge the numbers and hide behind a streaming service. And when it finished 5th behind the 7th sequel of Rich Crazy Asians or whatever, then you will know that Star Trek is dead. And a lot of people didn't go to the convention. Like I said before, the convention was old, and what was there was a lot of original series cosplay, Next Generation cosplay. Certainly there was some disco shirts that you could buy there at the convention. There was some people in disco uniforms, but Sci-Fi did a group shot of a lot of people who were there, a lot of them who I met. And I tweeted it, and just go look at that group shot. That was a good cross section of everybody who was there. Average age of that shot, 45 maybe. If there's people in their 30s, there's a lot of people got salt and pepper in their hair and little boilers when they're in their 30s. And there's the talk of the Quentin Tarantino Star Trek. Well, he made that deal with JJ, so I don't know if that sticks with Paramount, Viacom. He was hired by JJ to write a story. That's what he did. Quite frankly, it's the only thing I'd be interested in. And I think if they magically made that happen, that would certainly get interest, especially if you have Brad Pitt in a Star Trek movie. Like I said, just get the cast of Ocean's 11 and put them in a Star Trek movie. Let them say the F word. Out of morbid curiosity, I would see that film. And I'd probably enjoy it as a one-off. But that's not something that's going to help Star Trek. Star Trek, for me, this is just for me, is not something that works in movie theaters. Only if you are drawing on a previous series. But I don't think I think it's made for television. And it's not supposed to be super cinematic. And I think the more money you give to Star Trek, I think the worse off it is. And I think that's even been evident within the films. When they give them more money, they kind of, well, with the motion picture, I like the motion picture, but it was bloated. They made Wrath of Khan for a lot less, and it's, the greatest Star Trek movie ever made, period. So, we'll go over this Deadline article, cause it's funny. It's pretty funny. Hail. Ooh, that's terrible. Hail. I was trying to say hi and hail at the same time. Wow. They're going to get me on that one. Jesus. $10 super chat from Daniel. Watching the Midnight's Edge roundtable, I wanted to punch my screen when the two guys in the bottom corners were being so ridiculously positive on Picard. You were the only voice of reason. Thanks. Thanks, Daniel. Doomcock was there, and he was bringing it too. Listen. I don't blame them for wanting to be optimistic. See, the biggest difference between Matthew Kadish is a great guy. He's a great guy, and even Robert Meyer Burnett and myself is they have worked in Hollywood for years, entrenched in that culture. I worked there for 2 years and I hated it. I'm not a very good ass kisser, so I don't do well down there. And you have to do your fair amount. You got to bring your chapstick when you go down there, and you have to basically work for a bunch of little Mussolinis. And, I just wasn't good at it. I'm not made for that. I'm not made for corporate America. Not saying it's a bad thing. It's actually bad for me. Believe me. It got me in a lot of trouble at Tesla. But thank you very much. I appreciate it, Daniel. You are a voice of reason, my friend. Thank you for the $10. So yeah, the round table was interesting, but, a lot of that is just pure emotion. And, I go to bed, sleep like a baby. If Kurtzman is making Star Trek Discovery till season 10, I'm sleeping like a baby. It doesn't truly bother me. It bothers me watching it, but it's the ramifications of what it's doing. It's killing Star Trek, and this is not it's lasted for decades, but not really. Okay, you got to look at this realistically. It had a good run through the 90s, but since the mid-aughts, it hasn't been around. Enterprise died, and that was kind of it for Star Trek for me. The Next Generation movies didn't do well, and then we had a long period, a few years of nothing, or it was actually like 4 years. But then we had JJ Trek, which failed. It failed. If it didn't fail, it'd still be going. And that was my reservation when I sat down and watched the 2009 Star Trek. I'm like, there's no way they can keep this cast together for, 6 to 8 movies, which is what they would need to be cemented into Star Trek lore. They got 3 movies and the third movie flopped. The second movie, I don't know what it did financially, but people didn't like it. And the first movie had a great cast, but it was more a novelty. I mean, the 2009 Star Trek movie is a novelty. That's it. It's just playing on, nostalgia. And it was a great cast, a brilliant cast. Carl Urban was so good as Bones. Zachary Quinto's Spock, I never really liked very much. But it was okay. But what it's brought us now, I hate it now. Now I hate it. So let's get to this article, and then we'll get to you guys in the chat. Okay. Because let's get triggered some more, shall we? And by the way, I'm still on my old computer. So before I get started, Tetris is my life. So I live in this old house. It's not very big. It's like maybe a little bigger than your average 3-bedroom apartment. It's like a condominium, okay, with a big ass garage. So when I come in here and when I buy a new computer, I'm like, I'll just put my computer. Oh, I'll just move this thing over, and then I got to move this thing over, and then I got to move this. Then my whole office is destroyed, and then my son moves back home. My oldest son so all his shite is out in the front room right now. I'm glad he's home. I love my son, but God damn it, timing was so bad. But that's life. That's life. All right, here we go. Star Trek poised to become new Marvel. CBS Viacom merger brings franchise under one fleet. Zowie. That's my Zowie voice. The introduction of Mr. Spock last season on the sleek CBS Access series Star Trek Discovery or Discovery may be the first of many new frontiers for the fabled franchise now the Paramount owning Viacom and CBS are boldly going towards a corporate reunification. Of course, there has been no talk of this was followed immediately by lawsuits, which are obligatory in this point. And of course, the government's going to approve it because they approved Disney and Fox. Why not approve this? Taking a page from now Fox expanded Disney book, new Viacom CBS kingpin Bob Bakish, made very clear just now on today's, oh God, stop doing that, investor call that Star Trek and Mission Impossible franchises have significant potential to leverage across all company platforms. Hard stop there, as Tim Pool likes to say. Mission Impossible is a Tom Cruise action vehicle that if you try to recast a female lead, which they'll do, won't work. It won't work much longer because Tom Cruise is 60. I mean, he looks freaking fantastic. And it's only 10 years older than I am. But yeah, it's amazing what that guy does. Scientology, there must be something to it, to be honest with you. For him anyway. Or maybe it's just having lots of money. I'm thinking it's having lots of money. And being kind of crazy. In a good way, I guess. But that's not a viable franchise. It's just not. It's a very average, like the last movie was pretty cool, you know. But it's not anything you're going to remember. It's not a classic. It's disposable, and I don't think it's anything they can. Now, if they wanted to put it into a TV series and make it like it was, you know, in the 60s and early 70s, and you get like a really good cast, maybe, but that's starting something from the ground up. That's not a viable franchise, in my opinion. Star Trek certainly can be if you get rid of Alex Kurtzman, which they're not going to do. Hate to break it to you. So franchises have significant potential to leverage across all company platforms. Soon to be CBS CEO Joe Iannello hit the drum hard himself when he added with an international angle that the scale is becoming more and more important all time. Now, it was Andre at Midnight's Edge who talked about in a recent live stream, one of his rare solo live streams, where he talked about, Star Trek's international appeal is just not there. It's pretty big in the UK, parts of Germany. I'm not too sure about the Netherlands. I think he said it was kind of hit and miss over there. I definitely don't know about South America. And I know in Asia, it's non-existent. So, I don't know about international appeal. I think it plays well here in America at times. But I am of the belief that Star Trek is finite. It doesn't have limitless potential, but I think it has potential to be solid, to make you money forever with a audience that will be big, but never as big as Star Wars. And that's okay. You can do a lot of things with that if you don't have Alex Kurtzman. As CBS All Access heads towards launching the much-hyped Star Trek Picard next year, the Trekverse may now be poised for an intensified expansion. Already in the pipeline are multiple animated series, more short films, and a Michelle Yeoh-led Discovery spinoff, and at Comic-Con International And the Trek Brain Trust decided to drop all of their stuff there instead of the convention. Openly hinted about the possibilities of a Mr. Spock series starring Ethan Pecker, grandson of Gregory Peck. The new multi-platform possibilities of corporate this is where it dies. The new multi-purpose possibilities of corporate upsizing may mean the Star Trek widget could soon be making a giant leap in its aspirations, not unlike the one in the 1980s and 90s that elevated Star Wars from a blockbuster film franchise to the ubiquitous wall-to-wall culture force that it represents today. As we all know, money has a way of enhancing a proposition. In that vein, the Star Trek Brain Trust has already acknowledged that the animation push is viewed as a way to enhance the brand's toy business and to win the hearts, minds, and allowance money of kids. Another page from a now Disney-owned that Lucasfilm used to a masterful effect to build fan allegiance for characters that were in the original film trilogy. Wow. I don't agree with that at all. That is, okay, just to correct them on one thing. Hang on a second. Damn it, I almost hit the wrong button again. Just to correct them on one thing, let's go back to what they said here. Okay, Star Wars, and we talked about this on the Midnight's Edge podcast, was not popular throughout the 80s. I was there, and Star Wars' last toy line was in 1985. It was the original Power of the Force, and that was it. Return of the Jedi came and went, and people loved it, and it was over. And there was always rumors of doing a prequel, but nobody actually thought it would happen. There might have been some holdout hardcore Star Wars fans who were still in the fan club, still getting bantha tracks. I know there's outliers, but as far as mass appeal, wasn't there. It was in the early 90s. There was always the board. There was some game and stuff that, like, really, it was a small number of fans. And then the Zahn books came out in the early 90s. I remember seeing it at a Walden Books going, whoa, a new Star Wars story. Killer, great. And I bought it and I loved it. Dark Horse did some great comic books in the early 90s, but it was, and Tom said this, and it's true, it wasn't until 95, the toy line, a new toy line came out, and they started building up, and this was all on Lucas's plan, by the way, because he was a genius for this, building up for the 20-year anniversary, which was, it was like experiencing Star Wars all over again. It was unbelievable, because it had been out of, Lucas was smart, and he didn't oversaturate after the film, because people just didn't do that back then. And it was out of people's hearts and minds long enough to when it came back, it was like revisiting an old friend that you love. And it was like the return of the Beatles. It was brilliant. And it led to the prequels, and then the prequels happened and kind of killed all that nostalgia. But it did build a new fan base that was solid enough that there were still comics, there were still games, the EU was happening. So it grew the brand a little bit. But honestly, since the 20-year anniversary, I've never seen excitement as high as it was in 2015, and then it's just eroded since then. So, and Star Trek is not Star Wars. Not as many people like it. It's not as sexy. It's just, well, neither of them are sexy anymore, but Star Wars was always sexier, so always cooler than Star Trek. Now, I don't know, I've kind of gone back and forth. I definitely like Star Trek more than I like Star Wars. For sure. And Star Trek, it's Star Trek. It's cerebral. It's not supposed to be action packed, and, it's supposed to make you think. People talking in rooms with green screen windows that are out in the space. That's what I want. But we're not going to get that. So this is more of the planning that we get. We got plans. We got plans. the worst thing you can do to Star Trek Discovery, I've said before, is just show more episodes of Star Trek Discovery. Talk about the plot of Star Trek Discovery. I think you just forget what I say. Look at other YouTubers and not just within our little Star Trek community. Look at Red Letter Media. Look at how, they're pretty respected source. I respect what they have to say. And I look at how they feel about Star Trek. And those guys, they're fair. They're fair. I try to be fair. If you go back, if you dare, go look at my reviews of Star Trek Discovery Season 1. I tried to give it a chance because I was a fan. I wanted it to work in every way, shape, or form. I was very skeptical, and it wore me down. But yeah. But comparing Star Trek to the Marvel Universe shows just the lack of understanding. By the way, isn't every other company kind of abandoning the fact that they want to have a cinematic universe? But here comes Alex Kurtzman 2 years after if DC can't pull it off, Star Trek's not going to be able to pull it off. Plus, they're not superheroes. And while it may not be, here, let me put that, you know what? I'm going to read one more paragraph, then I'm going to get to you guys. So let's get this over with. While it may not be the Marvel Universe just yet, the greater Trekverse has the potential to eventually rival the Disney-owned comic giant in both legacy and currency. Wow! This had to be written by Alex Kurtzman. No chance in hell. No chance on this good green earth that Star Trek will ever make not one of their films will make more. You know what? What's the lowest grossing Marvel film? Was it the Hulk? Not one of their films will beat that. Especially with Sherry Redstone's development strategy of creating a greater global footprint. The challenge will be creating a wider pantheon of recognized characters that goes beyond the familiar core of Picard, Spock, Kirk, Dr. McCoy, Lieutenant Uhura, Lieutenant Commander Data, Lieutenant Commander Worf, and dozens of others. Trek fans will be enthused to hear about the expanding frontiers, but the news won't yet quite stir the kind of excitement that the Disney Fox headline evoked from Marvel fans. That's because Marvel characters have been scattered across Hollywood by years of one-off deals that created the cinematic equivalent of a superhero dysphoria. Spider-Man at Sony, blah, 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 blah. At the very early stage here, that Star Trek will fall under the fellowship of David Staff run CBS Studios as we await who truly rules what and whether or fourth Star Trek movie in the latest reboot round is truly coming to an R-rated from Quentin Tarantino, which it's not. It's not. As shareholders and fanboys and fangirls know, the upside possibilities of Viacom CBS latest merger aren't restricted to Federation Space either. Yeah, Twilight Zone, that was that was awesome. Okay. Yeah, I don't see Paramount as this Viacom as this juggernaut. I see them owning a bunch of old and tired cable channels like VH1 and MTV, which haven't been relevant for years. Yeah, I just that sounds like it was written by somebody from CBS. That sounds very optimistic and very Deadline didn't used to be like this, folks. They used to have a critical eye to some things. So that's, it's kind of par for the course right now. But yeah, just a reminder that they're trying to compare the guy who directed this to Kevin Feige. All right, so biggest difference between Kevin Feige and Alex Kurtzman. Kevin Feige is a lifelong comic book fan. Kurtzman saw Star Trek on at his friend's house when he went and visited. That's the words out of his own mouth. So let's get to some super chats here, and then we'll get to the chat. Thank you again, Daniel, for the $10. Candace Marie for $10. Get yourself a fancy press lanyard now that you are official. Take some more of my money since it's not going to cable. Well, Candace, thank you so much. And I will get myself a fancy press lanyard for for Silicon Valley Comic-Con, which is the next thing I'm going to go to. Thank you very much, Candace. Nova Roma for $4.99. Hey, Gary, Mattel just came out with a Darth Vader action figure. It's for the new Star Wars movie, but there's a catch. The action figure is a woman. The Barbie Darth Vader. I think that's really, better, the picture I showed in my last video, I thought that really was a good example of modern Star Wars, but that might be a better one. I think that is actually a better example for modern Star Wars. Yes. Wow. All I can say is they're not listening. They're going to continue not to listen. Part of the reason you make it in Hollywood is there's this overconfidence that you have to have in your own ability, and you got to show it off. And I'm sure Kurtzman has that. Matthew Kadish was saying that there's probably a group of people who kiss Kurtzman's ass, and certainly he gets paid a lot of money. But he's a joke within the fandom. I mean, there's nobody who respects this guy in the fandom. There's people, the best defense I hear is, oh, I like Star Trek. And then there's the people who just violently oppose us, and that's great that they exist. I mean, it's, you don't want to live in an echo chamber. You want to hear the other opinions on things. And all I have to, what happens behind the scenes doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Finished product. Let's talk about the finished product. I will debate anybody on the content of Star Trek Discovery. I've watched each episode enough to know that there's plot holes, and they don't keep track of their own canon. Again, I'll point out that Georgiou is from the alternate mirror universe. They're supposed to be light sensitive, and they're not. Hello, Fandom Menace. Come watch the maximum effort video game reviews on my Mark the Cyborg channel. Shameless plug, but my marketing budget is spent 100% on super chats to creators I enjoy. That's cool. That's all good, man. Thanks. That's $13.99 Canadian pesos from Mark the Cyborg. So go check it out. Captain Spire, $5. Star Trek Nemesis did worse than Star Trek V. Are they actually trying to beat the lowest record for Race to the Bottom of Star Trek Discovery movie? Here we go again. Yes, they are going. What other movie are they going to make? Are they going to do a Picard movie? That would be the only one that would make sense, but he's not getting any younger. So the only hopeful thing they have right now is a movie starring a TV show starring an elderly man. And they're talking 3 seasons, and I think they could probably get 3 seasons if they film them back to back. And pray, and we all pray that Patrick Stewart lives to 200. Okay, we love Patrick Stewart. And listen, Picard is going to get them subscribers. There's a wow factor. It's going to be very similar to Doctor Who Series 11. There's going to be a lot of people who are curious. There's the wow factor. They're going to get a huge bump in subscribers. We'll see if they keep them. If it's anything like Discovery, they won't. Please make Breastworld a reality, says Candace Marie for $2. Sure. Yes. Lori Wilson for $5. Just so you know, I had to go on eBay to buy my vintage Star Wars sheets like the ones you have. Oh, that's all I've got left too. I hope they weren't much. But these are from when I was a little. No, these are from Mrs. Nerdrotic. I have nothing left from when I was a little kid. I don't think from Star Wars. I've got the poster, but nothing from when I was a little kid. I gave it all away. Mary Ashmead, $5. I tried to make it to your round table and I missed it. You and Doomcock. I think Patrick Stewart should just call it a career and be done with it. By the way, congrats. Well, thank you. And congrats on the silver play button I got, which thank you very much, Mary. Hail Mary. Doomcock and I were on the round table for a minute. He had to bail. I had to bail. I could barely make that thing. And that's what kind of put this off. Cause My room was a disaster. Crispy Critters for Australian $2. Thank you for the donation, my friend. No statement there, nothing. Saruan of House Roundhead for $5. I loved your Skeksis Trump impersonation last night. Well, thank you. But you have you seen the newest trailer for the Dark Crystal show? It's on Netflix channel. I haven't yet. I haven't. I plan on watching it. I did like that movie. I just don't know how I'm going to like it as an adult. I haven't watched it again in a long time, but it looks cool. I mean, I like Henson stuff. I love it. The usual, hope it's not woke. And how can they make the Dark Crystal woke? Well, they'll figure out a way. I was rewatching The Hobbit, and The Hobbit's got the Hobbit is woke. And actually, I didn't think about it when I was watching it, but I like the film, but you know what ruins it is the destruction of the Legolas character. I'm forgetting her name now. The elf woman that they put in that movie destroys it, and it destroys Legolas's character. It makes him kind of a jealous a-hole, and it just, God. And it didn't need to be in there. There's some cool like elf action fighting and stuff, but yeah, I know a lot of people don't like The Hobbit. There's a ton of problems with it, but I'm a Tolkien fan, so see, hypnosis, man, it even hits me. Nicholas Horton for £5. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Well, I'll do Nicholas and I'll jump back to you, Mr. T. Sorry. For £5, Star Wars Resistance has been canceled. Season 2 will be its last. Shortest Star Wars show ever. Well, it was awful. I watched 5 minutes of it. I couldn't get through it. And it shows that Filoni isn't God. But he's certainly better than most people they have over there. I do wish he was in charge, but he's not. And yeah, but Star Wars is healthy, Nicholas, wait, Star Wars is healthy. Everything is fine. I've been told that repeatedly in my comments section today. We must be seeing things. Mr. T for $5. Great show, bro. Star Trek 6, the Undiscovered Country. The final scene on the bridge was an amazing conclusion to the Star Trek series. Sorry. I am tired. Yes, it was. I love that film. And yeah, you really could kind of say that's the end right there. There are a lot of good ends. I'm fine. The Next Generation. All Good Things is my ending for that. That's one of the best endings. The Real YT for $14.99. I thought CBS and Viacom were always together. Did I miss something? Yeah, Sumner Redstone split them up a while back, and now they are back together. And you put them up against Disney. You put them up against Amazon and Netflix. They're nothing. The CBS Corporation is got a lot of television for geriatrics. It's got MASH. There's nothing there that's super exciting other than Star Trek. And by all accounts, they're not going to change anything, and they can't. If they did a hard reboot now during this transition, that would kill everything. So they're going to have to stick what they got. And that's all I saw is let's hope for the best. Let's hope for the best. Hope is not a strategy. Alex Kurtzman will not lead you to the promised land. But if you want to continue to think that, that's fine. That's fine. I'll see in a couple of years when the streaming wars are over and Viacom and CBS are either being sold or absorbed, or they have to show their properties on somebody else's service, which they already do. Most of the Star Trek is still on Netflix last time I checked. And I'm sure there's a contract. So unless you can bring everything home to your streaming service, you're competing. I mean, like your best thing is on your competitor's streaming service. How can you win? The ability to rationalize within fandom. Listen, I experience it all the time in recovery and at AA and NA. Rationalization is is crazy. People can rationalize the craziest things. Sir Ruin of House Roundhead for $5. How would you feel about Amelia Clark or Lena Headey, playing Doctor Who? I wouldn't feel that great about it. I would watch for Amelia's awesome personality and Lena's great acting. No. I would see Lena Headey playing Romana. Yes. Sign me up. Done. She'd be perfect. She'd be so perfect. Nova Roma for $4.99. What if Picard had died instead of Captain Kirk? Patrick Stewart would have made a great Doctor Who, PC or Mac. My computer my new one's a PC. The old one is a Mac. Yes, Patrick Stewart would have made a great Doctor. Yes, without a doubt. He'd make a great Sherlock Holmes. He'd make a great everything. The only thing, and I hope he makes his show great. And I'm certain, I have no doubt that his performance will be fine. Although, in the trailer, is it just me? I want to hear what you guys think on this. Does he sound a little tired? He sounds a little tired. I mean, he's old. Still looks great. Tyrone Beard for Australian $10. Hail, Gary. I found a comic book store in my hometown of Bendigo. Is it Bendigo? Victoria. Good versus evil. Heaps of cool stuff. And shout out to Matt, who is going to look for a Q figure for me. I asked him to sub to you. Well, hello, Matt, and thank you, Tyrone. And wait, let's see. Let's get the camera on here. I'm going to do a double. I'm going to do you're going to have to rack focus yourself on Q. Wait. There you go. Q. Lots of Q. All right. The art of the real. Whoa. A little help in supporting your son and a contribution to your beard trimming fund. Is it getting a little long? I haven't trimmed my beard I cleaned it up a little, but I haven't trimmed it. I forgot. It's been months. But my wife owns a salon, so of course I have to make an appointment like everybody else. Thank you for the $50, the art of the real. Is there anything you want to plug? Your channel or anything? Let me know. That is brilliant. I'll pass that on to my son. He needs it. Dean Heiss for $2. He's a good kid. He's a big, dorky, good kid. Dean Heiss for $2. Your office looks weird without the bookcase. Yeah, it's supposed to. See, the whole thing, Dean, was I wanted to hang up more action figures, but it's way more complicated because I have to put up little shelves and stuff. So it's going to be probably a couple days till I'm done with it. And then there's using the pegs to put. That's going to take forever, but I'll do it. Bookcase is over there. Yeah, and then you know what'll happen is I'll finish and I hate it and I'll put it back. We'll see. It's the whole point of this is so you can get multiple angles. All right, it's so you're not just looking at one angle. I can change it up once in a while. But hopefully you guys will like it. But if you don't, tell me and I'll put it back. I will put it back because listen. Valentine's tube for $2. Wait. Thank you, Dean. And thank you again, Art of the Real. Valentine's tube for $2. Guess I'm not welcome. Trump and God supporter here. Who said you're not welcome? Who said you are more than welcome? You are more than welcome. No, when I was doing my, the context of the Skeksis Trump thing was actually making fun of Dark Crystal for being woke. Because somebody asked last night, how could you make Dark Crystal woke? And then I started doing a Skeksis Trump impression saying he was going to do something or anything, because Orange Man bad. No, we do not discriminate based on political views here, unlike pretty much all of Hollywood. So Trump supporters are welcome here. Very welcome. Echo Base Network, $4.99. You hear the You hear they cannot change canon in Lord of the Rings TV show on Amazon? I did. I actually mentioned it in a video. So do you think this will lessen the chance of it being woke? Yes. So they have I'm forgetting his name. It's Shipley. He is a Tolkien scholar. And by the way, I want to be a scholar of something when I grow up. So I can't be a Tolkien scholar. I mean, that takes years and years. But I think I could be. I can't be a Doctor Who scholar. Song of Ice and Fire, maybe. If I worked a little harder at that, I think I could be. I have pretty decent knowledge with Song of Ice and Fire. And decent with Doctor Who, but I'd have to do some more work because I'm not just a Doctor Who channel or a Game of Thrones channel or a Star Wars channel or a Star Trek channel. I favor some. I favor Star Trek and Doctor Who over Star Wars mostly because, well, at one time they were less dead. They're all equally as dead at this point. And Lord of the Rings is the one thing I have to look forward to, except there's a bunch of bad robot people running it. So probably not. I think it will lessen the chance, Echo-based network, but there's always that possibility. Like I just said, The Hobbit has got major feminism in it, like major. And I didn't notice it until I had rewatched it in a long time. And I just recently rewatched it. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. I hate what they did to Legolas. And again, they didn't need to have him in the film at all. It should have been 2 movies. Leslie Russell for $1.99. Pennyworth on Epix is a must watch. Really? I'll check it out. I'll look at the first. I have been trying to get through Preacher, and I'm having trouble right now. And it's not like I don't know. It's a little slow. I'll try it again. There's 3 episodes out right now, and I got to get through that. Stanfordson for $5. In the trailer, it didn't sound like Stewart playing Picard. It sounded like Stewart playing Professor X. It did. It really did. And there is a difference between the two, to me anyway. But that remains to be seen. It's not Patrick Stewart I had a problem with in any portion of the trailers. It was the most specialist girl in the world. The minute they introduced that, I'm like, goodbye series. That's it. Because not just that they had to make it female centric, because that's the edict right now with everything. They have to be female centric to make up for something. That's for Hollywood to work out what they're making up for. But this is something Kurtzman stated within an interview, that Star Trek is female centric right now, instead of being, equal, which that's what I'm for personally. Yeah, God dang it. Destiny Captain for $1.99 toxic mailbag. Not today. That'll probably be after the 19th. I'll be able to be back on schedule. Right now, I'm going to do live streams when I can. I've got to finish this. So I have a little bit of the OCD. While my house has to be not in perfect shape, things have to be put away. I have to be able to find things. And when my house is in chaos, like my brain is in chaos, like I don't even sleep well until this gets fixed. I'm not going to sleep well. So I'm going to fix it. Jonathan Frost for $5. Do you read Wheel of Time? Any views on the series going to Amazon, Gary? I have not read Wheel of Time. I plan to read it before the series comes out. I haven't. I heard they were going to focus on the female character. So I don't know. How do you feel about that? I'm going to shoot that question back to you, Jonathan. Have you heard that? And if you have, because that's what I've heard. How do you feel about that? I want to desperately take the time to read it because so many people have recommended it that I've heard nothing but great things, and it sounds like it's right up my alley. So yes, but it's good that I haven't gotten to everything yet, because some things will still. It was like Farscape when I got into Farscape about a year and a half ago now. Freaking love it. I love it. It's so good. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I got called a Nazi white soup on RMB's Facebook group today for a funny Star Trek meme post. Not by RMB. No, Robert Meyer Burnett would not call you that, but by someone else in his group. LOL. Yeah, his group leans that way. Some of them in there. I've seen a lot of that kind of talk in his chat, and you just got to laugh it off, especially when that is so tired, and that's the problem right there, right there. Yeah, I'm Nicholas Glenn. I like Nicholas Glenn. I don't care who Nicholas Glenn voted for. His politics are his own. Just like if he's religious, that is his own. But while I am not a religious person, I absolutely respect religion. People who, if that brings you happiness, brilliant. That's all I care about. But I'm not anti-religion. I've just never, I didn't grow up in a super religious household. We were Lutherans, which is like Catholic light. And my dad was never, we went to church and then, we started going to football games instead. And, so I just never got religious. Doesn't mean I don't believe in God or anything. It's just, I just don't. Nerddom is my religion. It is. And it's just in a bad way right now. That's why I co-host The Inquisition with Doomcock, because it's time. It's time for a nerd crusade. Maybe that's a bad analogy. Dirk Diggler for $10. Nerdrotic, please help me understand why modern Trek Discovery JJ-verse does not compare to past Trek. When I remember episodes like Arena, Balance of Terror having lots of action. The action in Star Trek was well placed, but it wasn't an action-packed show. It certainly had plenty of action within it, but when you compare it to Star Trek Discovery, which is just let's throw everything in, let's just throw everybody's idea in, they have too many things going. The thing is, they try to make what they're trying to do is be intricate and be they're trying to go way above their talent level as far as their writing. They have soap opera writers trying to write like a counterpart or an Expanse. Star Trek Discovery wants desperately to be the Expanse. It can't be the Expanse. The Expanse is on a whole nother level than most other shows. And Star Trek Discovery is not even close to the Orville, which is a parody of Star Trek. The Orville is a more intelligent science fiction show than Star Trek Discovery. Star Trek Discovery is dabbled in fantasy, which Star Trek is not. And I've heard people argue that it is. It's like, no. They have elements, but I would call them science fiction elements. Star Trek used to be, when you think classic sci-fi, the first thing I would think, is Forbidden Planet, Star Trek, for me anyway. And Star Trek Discovery tries to throw everything in the kitchen sink with people who can't even, who don't have the talent to handle one of the plot points that they put in to a single episode. There's so many things going on. Again, Red Letter Media, I love their Star Trek work. It's perfect. So they did a little parody of Star Trek Discovery, just a parody of the writing. If you haven't watched that video, watch that video. That describes Star Trek Discovery perfectly. If not, then you can go and watch if you haven't seen my live, I did reviews, right? And that's kind of what I usually do here. There's just no TV on right now that I want to review here. I usually do live reviews of television right after the show airs. So you get my visceral reaction of Star Trek, and you can see I'm like dumbfounded after every episode. I'm like, it gets dumber every episode. And I would like to be eloquent and saying, but it's just dumb. That's it. It's simply just dumb. Elliot Nelson for $10. What do you think current Star Trek, Star Wars, and Doctor Who are going to look like with the perspective of time? This seems like such a garbage time for science fiction in general. It's going to be looked at I will use the music right now. The entertainment industry, television in particular, and movies are the music industry of 20 years ago. So it's going to look a lot like the ending days of grunge. Does anybody remember those? Yeah, no, like after Nirvana is gone. Yeah, it just petered out, and it's petering out because for a while, and this is something I wanted to talk about. So, and I'm going to relate it, believe it or not, to Loot Crate. So Loot Crate is going down. I'm sure most of you have seen the quartering video. Loot Crate is filed for bankruptcy. They are $20 million, and they still have to ship out $20 million worth of product, which they're probably not going to do, in my opinion. So we just went through a boom, and we're at the end of the boom. And as far as nerd culture, Hollywood tried to capitalize on nerd culture, and it's starting to back down now. And we're starting to see little signs here and there. Galaxy's Edge not doing so well. Toy sales tanking. And by the way, I will say it again. Star Wars, it's now making headlines that Star Wars has hit hard times. That's undeniable at this point. Something we in the Fandom Menace have been saying for quite some time now. Star Trek and Doctor Who are in the same boat, but they have been not telling everybody the truth. Just look at and that's not their job to do, by the way. They never would do that. They've never done it in the past, but they've never had to face YouTubers and stuff who poke holes in their arguments, when they've had just willing accomplices in the access media. So this is something new for them as well, and they're trying to deal with that. But we just had the merger going on in CBS and with Viacom. So everything had to look great in Star Trek land. And it still has to look great while this merger is still happening. So they will do nothing to change it drastically, and everything will seem fine. Well, I've had multiple sources tell me it is not fine. It is far from fine. But they're going to stick with it anyway, I guess. That's fine. So Loot Crate is biting the dust right now. I think that is a sign that the era of the nerd might be coming to an end. We had a good run. We knew it wouldn't last forever. It's still, listen, my action figures are staying on the wall. They're not coming down. We'll see. I'm almost thankful that it's going to go back to being niche. We might not get as many cool TV shows and stuff, but I think, I think if we get back to being what we were before, we'll get more creativity. And off with the normies at this point. Bye-bye. I'm okay with that. I think we sold our soul to the devil when Disney bought it, and the MCU cost us the comic book industry. It's that simple. So, and Star Trek, it tried. I'll give them that. I mean, it's not for lack of, for trying, but they just hitched their wagon to the wrong horse, man. And we tried to tell them. And we're still trying to tell them. So at this point, what is it going to look like in a few years? It's going to look like we're going to still have comic books. Maybe they'll finally get around to making Star Trek audio dramas, but I don't think we'll see anything on TV. I know there's people out there who think we're going to get 5 television series and 5 movie series. Let's have one successful TV show, one that everybody likes, or most everybody likes. Everybody's not going to like everything, but it'd be nice. And then let's see if they can be successful with a film, and not a Quentin Tarantino film, a film that can, Star Trek is a franchise. It's not a one-off. So a film that can start a film series. Let's see if they can do that. I'm very skeptical. I would say that's pretty impossible with Kurtzman. Now, if they bring other people in, now we're talking. They bring a Ronald D. Moore. There's a lot of people out there. I bring up Ronald D. Moore just because, he's done stuff outside. He's done Star Trek and stuff outside of Star Trek that I like. But it's a garbage time. Yeah, it's a terrible time right now. We just ended the era with the MCU. By the way, I'm going to be re-reviewing Avengers Endgame this Friday on Friday Night Tights with Comics Division. We're going to watch it one more time with some time past. All of my nostalgia is gone, and I can look at it as close to objectively as possible. And we'll see what I think about it. JPR, thank you for the $10, Elliot. JPRPH1 for $4.99. Hail, Gary. I know you're doing a vid on the boys on Nerdrotic Live, but could you just say who was gender swapped from the graphic novel? Yes. Oh my God. Hang on. Greg. Hang on. I'm forgetting the last name now. Oh, hang on. Boys, I'm gonna have to look this up. So it's basically the butcher's handler, the person who recruited the butcher, was a male. Dirk Diggler for $10. Second question. I say this because when I watch Star Trek, the motion picture, the special effects and screenplay I liked, but the movie was too long. I enjoyed Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, because of its action, and it kept my attention. Definitely. I agree with that. As far as a cinematic Trek, yeah. But you also had 3 seasons. How many episodes were in each season? 25, 30, something like that of each season. You had multiple episodes of cerebral Star Trek with mixed in action here and there, but you didn't have like an action-packed series. So you can pay off with an action-packed movie, especially following such a slow-moving movie. I wouldn't want it slow, but, I like the motion picture. I do. I think there's a lot to like about it. I remember seeing it when I was a kid, when it came out, the opening weekend, and people cheering, when people never thought Star Trek would come back. The bearded McCoy, gets beamed up. He's bitching about the transporter. People were screaming their heads off in the theater. That was cool. That was cool to be there. Cracklin, it's time for a woke-free parody of Doctor Who. It might be. Or you can do a woke parody. It kind of is already, but you can do a parody of the parody. Cracklin, maybe. For $3.99, thank you, my friend. JC Shaggy for $2. You think you'll ever admit STD isn't canon? You think they'll ever admit STD isn't canon? No. Well, you know what? The licensing stuff, that's the interesting thing, because I reached out to the insider, and I'm sure others have as well, and there's no clear answer on that. I could tell you a little bit of what he said, but right now there's nothing concrete. That's why I didn't do a video. There's like nothing concrete I can give you. It would just be my opinion of Star Trek doesn't have very much hope. So I thought it was better. I'd rather hear what you guys think of the Viacom merger. Do you think Star Trek is saved? I mean, there's always a chance. There's always a chance. I don't think there's a very good chance. I think we're way too deep into this, and I don't differentiate JJ Trek and Kurtzman Trek. They're the same Trek. This is all JJ Trek until that aesthetic changes, and I see something that's not JJ. It's fracking JJ Trek. And since Kurtzman isn't even original enough to create his own aesthetic. Matthew Kadish says this guy aspires to be a super producer. Well, that's obvious because he's just latching onto things to be the super producer of a cinematic universe. Guy didn't give a shit about the Universal Monsters, and it showed. Guy didn't give a shit about Spider-Man, and it showed. That's the one thing. I would run a better Spider-Man series than he would. Period. And I have no aspirations. See, okay. The one great thing about being on this channel and being an old fart is I have no aspirations to work in Hollywood, to work with anybody in Hollywood, to be friends with anybody in Hollywood. I don't care. I don't need it. People have reached out to me and they've been very nice, and I'm thankful for that. But that's not, I am here as a fan to talk to the fans. I am here to have your back. You guys have my back. because nobody talks to the fans anymore. So that's my whole goal. It's achieved. I don't want to do anything else other than this until I retire into the sunset and unplug from the internet forever. But I think that affects some people with channels, because I mean, each person has their own goal for their channel, and that's great. If they want to try to work it in Hollywood, then by all means go for it. But I think it really restricts you as far as being a critic and calling this crap out. I think Jeff is the same way at World Class Bullshitters. I know he wants to do a comic and stuff, and he's got his own aspirations, but it doesn't stop him from stating his real opinion. Jeremy's the same way. EVS the same way. Doomcock's definitely the same way. But I just think some people would like to work in Hollywood. That's just my guess. Classic comics. Wheel of Time started out great, but dragged on way too long. 14 books. Also, the way it's written will make it easy to play up to SJW elements. Interesting, Classic Comics. Well, it sounds like that's what they're doing, though. And that's going to turn me off immediately. Jonathan Frost for $10. Wheel of Time has strong whammon. A male bashing, but male characters were great. Female focus isn't surprising. I'm interested in visuals and writing, so I'll look at it. But then again, I did that for Discovery. Yeah. Excuse me. And I did as well. The thing that should not be for $10. Only reason JJ Orci Star Trek happened was because the property was split between Viacom and CBS. Viacom wanted to do movie series without CBS approval or having to pay them that much. And that is true. That is true. And listen, Kurtzman needed Star Trek because after The Mummy, his career, I don't think there's a better case of failing upward in the history of Hollywood than Alex Kurtzman. I think we need to be impressed with that. We certainly do. Need a drink of water. It's bloody hot in San Francisco today, which is never good. It's never hot here during the summer, by the way. Average temperature at my house during summer is like 65. Valentine's Tube for $5. Pertwee and Tom, my first. Used to watch Three Doctors over and over. Love their masters and Blonde Master from the 11th. Crushed on Ace and Layla. Yes. I need to watch some old Doctor Who, man. It's been a couple days. I can too. I've got my Blu-rays. Glinzer for $10. There have been plenty of male-centric TV shows, movies, and video games. Well, it just jumped on me. Hang on. All right. That have been taken over by women. Can you think of one female-centric property that has been taken over by men? No. I'm sure it exists, but not off the top of my head. Not off the top of my head. By the way, I need to announce that I will be taken over by a female lead next show, preferably a person of color. I want to be more diverse and inclusive, so I'm going to replace myself with a female lead. So this will be my last show. Just kidding. We were thinking about like having Mrs. Nerdrotic come in and do a show and just not say anything about it. She could put on like a fake beard. Tokyo Gaijin for 600 yen. Moonvis screwed us all. This is true. If I recall, didn't he secure the legally split license thing with Kurtzman for the next 5 years? Yeah, they talked about that on the Midnight's Edge stream I was on, and those guys are way more knowledgeable about it. But when the split originally happened, Moonvis didn't like Star Trek. He famously didn't like Star Trek, so he didn't give a shit. But he only gave a shit when they needed to use it for the streaming service. So he's like, do whatever with it. I don't care. And that contract was almost like a poison pill for CBS All Access. So, I mean, they got to stick with him. They don't have to stick with him. They can eat the contract. This is a big company. They could eat the contract, fire him, start over, and really make something that fans would love. They're just not that interested in it. It's clear. Fine. We'll see what happens. I mean, it sucks, but 2 years' time, Star Trek is dead. It just doesn't know it yet. 4,000 people at the convention. Go look on YouTube at the channels that love Star Trek Discovery. Just go look. Look at the traction they're getting. There is no traction for this show. There was no buzz about it at Comic-Con other than the panel. But on the floor with the people, nobody was talking about it. Nobody gave a shit. There was a giant Picard banner overlooking downtown San Diego. Nobody was going, man, I can't wait for Picard. Nobody was saying that. I think there's curiosity. I think it'll get them a lot of subs, like I said before. But will it hold it? Probably not. Because I've watched Akiva Goldsman's work. Bless Matthew Kadish's heart. He was bringing up Alex Kurtzman's IMDb. We'll do that right now. Again, this is the Kevin Feige of Star Trek, supposedly. I want you to keep in mind there's bottom line. That's all Hollywood cares about. But it's what you've done for me lately. But it's also, look at the overall legacy. Remember how much shit Michael Bay used to get? I would take a Michael Bay Star Trek over a J.J. Abrams Star Trek. I would take a Michael Bay film. Like Michael Bay films I can enjoy. There's something you can enjoy about Michael Bay. And he used to be considered the biggest hack in Hollywood, this side of Huey Bolt. And he's better than J.J. and Alex Kurtzman combined. So let's go to, first, we're going to go to his directing credits. Okay, I don't care about producing. And then we'll talk a little bit about like how producing has kind of taken over Hollywood, and that's part of the problem too. So that's it. That's him as a director. Alias, he did an episode of Alias. New Day, never heard of it. People Like Us, never heard of it. The Mummy, he directed The Mummy and Brother. So far, I hated Brother, and it's better than The Mummy. The Mummy's pretty bad. Writer. So these are the only two things I would say I liked that he did. This is when he was working with Raimi. So I liked Hercules. I liked Xena. Alias started out okay and fell to crap. The Island was a ripoff. Legend of Zorro. I don't even remember that film. And I'm trying to like remember things. Mission Impossible 3. The one thing that's common with all of this stuff, Lock and Key never happened. People Like Us never happened. Is he wrote Revenge of the Fallen, which was real. I mean, like I like the first Transformers movie, but again, the commonality here is I can't remember any of this shit. Not a single thing stands out to me at all. It was, disposable. And it was all pretty bad. So then we have Fringe, which was okay. Didn't see Star Trek video game. Into Darkness. And then, of course, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Exit Strategy, Sleepy Hollow, which is another series that had a decent first season, then it went to crap. Short Treks were awful. Star Trek Discovery awful. Never seen Hawaii Five-0. Bride of Frankenstein. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. Not impressive. I mean, it's like an average IMDb. Maybe. But nothing memorable, nothing great. And you give this guy Star Trek. Now, I would say a lot of Star Trek, a lot of DS9, a lot of Next Generation is memorable. That's why it's still around. this isn't the right guy for the job. And the fact that there's still people who believe that and hang on to it shows you the power of nostalgia, of hypnosis, and wanting Star Trek to be good. Star Trek is not saved. I'm sorry. I wish I could report. And the only reason I'm saying something, I could throw my hands up in the air and just say, I don't care. Fine. Have your Kurtzman Trek. Enjoy for the next couple of years because that's about all you're going to get. You're not going to be getting any films from Kurtzman. If they change course, get somebody else, then we'll get some films. Kurtzman, if he can talk them into it and they're dumb enough to do one, like I said, I challenge it. I challenge to see it in the theater and see how well it does. And then we'll actually know. We'll have proof of what I already know. $4.99 from Crackling. Can we buy your Nerdrotic logos like the ones on your microphone? I'd buy one. This is by Jeff McKelvey. He 3D printed this keychain. I could ask him. This is a magnet that I can order. Possibly, yeah. We'll get that going. I have like little magnets here. These were sent to me. I've got a lot of stuff to get going, but yes, certainly. I have a couple t-shirt things I have to get. There's a Justice for Anash shirt that might be ready to sell. But I have to talk to Anash. I have not talked to Anash yet. It's got to be cool with him first. And he and I have to talk. The Grand Inquisitor for $5. Hail Nerdrotic. I just sent you an email titled Hail Gary, and I would be honored if you read it on the air. Keep kicking. And hail the Phantom Menace. Yes, hail the Phantom Menace. The women in the Wheel of Time get put in their place by toxic masculinity except for 3 characters. I'm all for it. It would be a great show, says Mary Ashmead for $5. Peter Davison for Australian $2. Postbox have not gotten by there yet. I'll probably be by there next week. Hey Gary, I accidentally watched STD. Is there a shot I can get for that? Maybe I can go see Doctor Who. Fire and Ice is the best animation movie. Fire and Ice. I remember Fire and Ice. Yeah, I do. Hey, what happened? Did it freeze up? Man, we just lost like a bunch of viewers. That's weird. Is it okay? Yeah, that was weird. Valentine's Tube. Okay, I already read that one. Glinsner, there have been... yeah, I already read that one. Hang on. Something did jump. That's weird. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Grand Inquisitor. Thank you for crackling. Tim Morell for $4.99. Hey, Gary, have you seen Netflix's Another Life? I watched the first 3 episodes and just couldn't get into it. I have not. Mrs. Nerdrotic saw it and said Katie Sackhoff was just acting like Starbuck again. But no, I haven't checked it out yet. It's been nuts with all the traveling and stuff and then getting back to House Chaos. I'll probably won't have time to watch it because I need to watch Preacher still. Chris Persia, but thank you, Tim. Chris Persia for Canadian $5. I'm going to say this again. Going by the same metrics as Klutzman's IMDb, Kennedy should have been fracking brilliant. And look at Star Wars now. Exactly. Like Kennedy's done something. All right. Not a lot lately, and she might have had a lot of help, but she was attached to classics. Klutzman is a poser, just like J.J. Abrams. They're posers. They're wannabe Steven Spielbergs, and they're really good at talking people into giving them money. Hiroshi Score for Mexican $50. I finally caught up in my binge Nerdrotic mode. Now my watch has ended. Congratulations on the silver play button. Great job. Well, hey, thanks for catching up. That's brilliant. Binge Nerdrotic. That's cool. Thank you for the 50 Mexican pesos there, Hiroshi Score. And I can, hang on. Where'd it go? There it is. I'll show it off again. It's going to stay in the box until, and I'm not on StreamYard, so it's a better connection right now. So maybe you guys can see. There you go. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I never thought I'd get it. But that proves, that's what, Jeremy said this, because they have to go and analyze your channel. What the hell is going on? It's I'm watching the view count, and it's like dropping 70 people and I've never seen it do that before, so there must be something funky going on. But yeah, they have to go and manually look at your channel again and make sure you're legit. So they can't say anything, but they probably will. Will you see the Star Trek The Motion Picture anniversary release in September? Yes, Dean. Yes, I will. I will definitely go. I had a chance. I think they were showing it at the convention, but I missed it. Thank you for the $2. Yes. I know it jumped on me. I just want to make sure. I'm going to go back into the chat here. Let's get into the chat. All right. So are any of you hopeful that Star Trek can be turned around? I want to be. I can't. And the thing is, they're going to woke it up when you don't need to. Star Trek is not anything you need to do. You don't have to do that. It makes it's an insult to Star Trek to do that, because it's always been a show that moves things forward through great science fiction storytelling, through using aliens for. It's always been a good show for moral tales and analogies, and it's wasted on schlocky action and superficial woke storytelling, and really terrible writing. So it's hard for me to call. Sonequa Martin Green is not a very good lead, and they kind of put her. Boxed her in by writing her as like a human Vulcan, which they never should have done. And I don't know if she has the skill or if that's her trying to be stoic, but it's not something you want to base your lead on. And we've talked about this before, but it's hard for me to tell. I mean, I know Doug Jones is a good actor and he tries the best he can, but again, the writing is so bad. And the one commonality throughout all the fired, showrunners is Alex Kurtzman and that writer's room. They've all been the same. The only missing Akiva Goldsman wasn't in season 1, but Alex Kurtzman's all over that. His fingerprints are all over that. And every business, I've run a business. They take on the personality of their owner, and you can't shake that. It doesn't matter who's show running. It's still going to be Alex Kurtzman over the show running. He's still going to trump whoever's running this thing. And Alex Kurtzman doesn't have 1,000th of the talent that Brian Fuller did. I think Brian Fuller might have brought us a good Star Trek, but we'll never know, which is too bad. And there was a lot of politics behind that, and it really doesn't matter because it's crappy Star Trek. I thought Fringe was excellent. Currently watching Leftovers, pretty good so far. I hated The Leftovers, and I was okay with Fringe. I didn't hate Fringe. It kind of, meandered at the end, but it was good, entertaining television. But again, it's not really memorable. I mean, I'll give this. Alias, the first season of Alias was memorable, but then none of us knew we were watching the beginnings of the mystery box, where it was going nowhere. When I thought it was going somewhere, I thought it was cool. Secret Rebel for $5. What's up, Gary? On your shirt, you should have your own phrase where you see at the end of your vids. That would be very cool. You know what? I probably should do that at the end or on the back. Yeah, that's a good idea. I might do that. Thank you, Rob Price, for $5. Thank you, Secret Rebel, for $5. And Hiroshi Score. Okay, let's get back to the chat here. What should be done to get Star Trek back on track? The Equalizer. I was asked this on the Midnight's Edge live stream. It would be drastic and they wouldn't do it, but you'd have to hard reset. I'd stop everything now. I would let Discovery season 3 happen. At the end, I would make it an alternate reality. When the Discovery was popping around, we find out that there was a Prime canon separate from the Star Trek canon, and this is just a completely different Trek. And honestly, I said that a long time ago. If you made this an alternate universe, I wouldn't hate it as much at all. The fact that it's screwing up canon, and they can screw up a lot of canon 900 years in the future, because anytime they willy-nilly mention anything that happened, oh yeah, the Federation was destroyed by, a freaking comet or something. That's canon. That's canon according to them. So that's how they screw it up. This doesn't un-F anything. What I would do is I would put Discovery in an alternate timeline, end it. The Picard series, again, that's in production. You would hope it was good, but yeah, I'd still hard reset even with Picard. Maybe, you make it a mini series in an alternate timeline and hard reset, but they're not going to do any of this. And then I would find good Star Trek people and take their time and keep it on television, keep it on a streaming service, fine, put it behind a paywall, and keep it coming out weekly. And I would go back to basics. There's nothing you really need to reinvent here. What you need to, what wins fans over every single time is good storytelling. Forget all the flashy stuff. It's good storytelling. The Expanse had a very limited budget, and it was on the Sci-Fi network, and it won over a lot of fans. Not enough to keep it on the air, but that it was very restricted by its contract and by being on a cable channel during the cord cutting era. There's a lot of channels right now that are dead in the water. Like Discovery and Nickelodeon and stuff like that. Like, those are dead channels. They're not going to survive into the streaming service. And when the streaming services really get going, that's when this is all done. AT&T bought out Warner Brothers to survive. I mean, that was their last ditch. AT&T, of course, has the phone service, but with DirecTV, that shit's dying. It's done. I get something in the mail every freaking week. $500 gift card if I sign up for DirecTV, and I just toss it in the trash. I would never sign back up, not for any amount of money. So yeah, I just don't. What I would do with Star Trek, I would hard reset it. But they won't do it. They're gonna stick with it, and it's done. If Kurtzman's in charge, it's done. There's no way he can turn it around. He just does not have the talent, the wherewithal, and he's not right for Star Trek. This is like the sports ball. I know some of you are sports ball fans out there. This is when damn well a coach isn't going to work out. And you're like, fire the bum! Okay, the Chargers, Norv Turner. I knew Norv Turner sucked. I knew Norv Turner would never take us to a Super Bowl. And they stuck with him, and fans were like, no, Norv's going to turn it around. Norv can do it. And then he didn't do it. And the fans who were against Norv were right all along. That's exactly how I feel right now. Watching the Norv Turner of Star Trek right now, and I'm just like, you got to fire the bum. He's just not right. He's not right for the team. No, he's right. You're just negative all the time. You're not a real fan. Okay. Katie Sackhoff should be STD's new captain or the new Doctor Who. Says Sam Whiskey for $4.99. Katie Sackhoff should be Captain Marvel. That's who Katie Sackhoff should be. No female doctor, male doctor. STD's new captain. Yeah, she'd be good. She not in Star Trek Discovery. I could see her as a Star Trek captain though. That'd be great. In some new show, not produced by Alex Kurtzman. Sam, yes, 100%. Love Katie Sackhoff. She's brilliant. Bought Alita Battle Angel. It was fantastic. Oh, dude, it's a great movie. I'm glad you bought it. The DVD sales are doing well, so that's good. Maybe we'll get a sequel out of it. We don't know. Thank you, Captain Spire, for the $2. But now you are a member of the alt-right Alita cult. Sorry to say. Bet you didn't know that, but yeah. According to the Access Media, that's what you are. Lori Wilson for $3. What about the animated Star Trek starting soon? The Lower Decks one? I want them to get one Star Trek right before they start willy-nilly starting making cartoons. I don't like... I'm not the biggest fan of Rick and Morty, so I don't know if I'm the right person to ask about this. It looks like I've heard people say it looks a lot like Final Space. And if it's a Kurtzman joint, it will be borrowing a lot from a lot of things. And animated, I mean, I love the original animated series. I just don't think it'll work. I don't think it'll work. It would definitely won't bring in kids. But the Nickelodeon... Okay, so the Nickelodeon one is for kids. I get confused. And then there's Lower Decks, which is for adults. And cartoons for adults. I'm not a big cartoon guy. I'm just not. I appreciate good animation, but I like the Venture Brothers. So if they make Star Trek like the Venture Brothers, the animated show, then I might like it. Daniel Rizlink for 50 Czechoslovakian pesos. The Federation should build a wall around the Earth, and Klingons and Romulans should pay for it. Yes! Yes! They absolutely. Peter Davison, Australian $2. Can we expect a new Who video? Yes, eventually. Eventually. I've been kind of waiting for some announcement from the BBC, not insider sources from Radio Times. I think the silence is deafening, Peter. I think the fact that we haven't seen a production photo, we haven't seen anything since Sunday. So the rumors hit Monday. The last thing we saw was on, it was early morning Monday for us. They were filming for Doctor Who, and that was the last we heard. And those were pickups, I believe. But I'm not sure. But yes, hopefully very soon. Hopefully very soon. Can I use your logo on a badge for the PAX convention? Says Tyron Beard. Sure. Sure, no problem. I have no problem with it. There is a company out there using my logo right now. We might have to have a little chat. But right now I'm not... I mean, it's no harm, no foul. It's not really hurting me at all. But there'll be a point where we have to have a discussion about it. Echo Base Network for $1.99. Growing up, was I more Sega or Nintendo? Sega. Mira J says BRB loves. Well, you hurry back, Mira. Build a wall around Kurtzman and we'll pay for it, says Chris Saint. I would happily crowdfund a wall around Kurtzman creatively. I would. Ben Barbosa. Hey, Gary, I'm very curious. What's your favorite episode stories from classic Doctor Who in any particular order? Ben, I've said it a million times before. Spearhead from Space is one of my all-time favorites. Because I think it's the best introduction to a Doctor. I'm a John Pertwee fan, and my love for him is like it came later in life. But I grew up on. I'm a PBS kid. BBS Biased Brainwashing Corporation from 99 Iron Duke. Yes, they are. They're partially yes. Well, no, wholly yes. Biased Brainwash Corporation, not partially, completely. Sorry, I'm trying to read 3 chats at once here. I missed one, Echo Base. I'll look up there. There's Tyrone Beard. Hang on, Echo Base. I'll go back up there. How did Khan recognize Chekhov in Star Trek II when he was not even in the original series episode of Space Seed? Also, thanks again for the shout out on your coverage of the Star Wars merch. Oh, you're welcome, my friend. At the time, they were. I think the rumor was, and I'm trying to go back to when it came out. I know there's been a million revisions of that, but at the time he was supposed to be on the ship, and Khan, ran across him on the ship, and he just wasn't seen in that episode. I don't know if they've officially said anything about it, but that was the initial excuse that they used back in the day when, people noticed that right away. They're like, wait a minute. He wasn't in there. We just kind of rolled with it. And if you go to a Midnight's Edge review, I think Nicholas Meyer addresses that. That Nicholas Meyer wasn't the biggest Star Trek fan and didn't know, and they didn't give a shit. They just wanted to make a movie. But I think at the time that's what worked for me. God, was it my friend Doug who said it's yeah, maybe he was just on the ship and we didn't see him in that episode. I'm like, okay, that makes sense to me. How would he remember him by name? Well, he has the superior intellect. So maybe part of the superior intellect is remembering everybody's name. Maybe. All right. So my logo, the thing about my logo is it is copyrighted for one. And because it's just glasses, and it was inspired from a porn a porn logo. That's where I got it. So my friend of mine from the comic shop did t-shirts back in the early aughts. Brandon Havey, who said it said Geek Pride, and it was a broken set of glasses. So I was like, I'm doing Nerdrotic. I need a logo. I'll use I wear glasses. I'll just do the universal sign of the nerd, the taped glasses. And I was looking for some Ray-Bans. And while I'm making up the logo, I just searched an image on Google, and it was some porn company. But the glasses had these shades, like a sunset in it or something like that. I just took that out and used that. And then my friend, John's friend, Avery, refined it a little bit for me. And that's where we got the logo. But the fact that I've been doing business under it for quite some time now, and I created it before that other company did. So, again, I'm not too worried about it. But it's copyrighted here in Cali, so that's good enough for me. Let's get back up here. Do you get, Nina Fabiano for $5. What was your favorite sci-fi trope? Because what's my favorite sci-fi trope that shows don't use anymore? Well, Picard is about to use it. The ragtag team of rogues on a spaceship going on adventures. Guardians did it, the Farscape thing. But that's why I love Serenity. Big Firefly fan. But that is the one I love. Nicholas Horton for £2. Sean Pertwee as the Doctor. I think everybody would love that. If he came back and did just a third Doctor adventure, or even some audio adventure, some Big Finish. I wonder if they've ever talked to him. I'm sure he said no. I'm sure they've asked him before. JPRPH1, Mecca has a video on Lower Decks panel today. She thought it seemed slightly hopeful. Wishful thinking? Yeah, I think so. I read, I on a previous live stream, I went over the article on what it's about. And it's about a California class spaceship. And it sounds very Orville. It sounds extremely Orville. A California class starship. And, of course, I don't think the Orville is named after Orville, California, but it's close. It's close. Thank you, JPRPH1 for $4.99, Nicholas Horton for £2, and Nina Fabiano for $5. Hi, Nina. Bald Eagle, 1787, $5. Do you get the impression that Patrick was deceived by playing Picard in this crap show? He's protective of Picard since it's his legacy. I don't know how protective he is. I don't think he is. I think Picard was just a job for him. I'm starting to get that impression. And I think they asked him for enough money. And also, I think they convinced him on the story. All right, Grand Inquisitor, I'm going to get to that email. Be right back to the Super Chats. Here we go. Is this the one? Hang on. Oh, wow. That's cool. Is that okay? This is, yeah. So you said you sent me Grand Inquisitor says he sent me an email saying Hail Gary. There's like there's 4 emails that say Hail Gary in a row. I was like, oh shit. A lot of people said Hail Gary, so I was trying to pick the right one. What's up, Grand Inquisitor? Thought this might make you chuckle. As our sacred Lord was disgraced and defamed, tales of the bearded and bespectacled prophet began to emerge. It was foretold that he would guide us through the expanse aboard a mighty vessel, the Orville. He would pay a hefty price to watch our once revered pop culture be torn asunder. But he would bestow upon us secrets that the evil woke hordes wanted to keep from us, to keep us in a stupor, to keep us consuming their vile drivel masquerading as our sacred legends. Sadly, our sacred lore would never recover. It was forever broken because its caretakers had awoken. But we had our prophet, our Nerdrotic, our beloved Gary. Hail, Gary, this one true prophet to save us from the madness. Stay awesome and keep up the good work. Forever a fan, Andy, the Grand Inquisitor. Well, thank you, Andy. I really appreciate the kind words. You guys do the same for me. You keep my sanity because for a long time I was watching this stuff and I just thought I was crazy person. I thought I was crazy person who was seeing patterns and everything and, thought I was probably losing my mind. But I'm not, thankfully. And it's refreshing at least to talk about the patterns of bullshit that is happening within our franchises. And it's politically motivated, unfortunately. And I wish it weren't. Don't want to talk about that stuff. I would just love it to be entertainment again. I think I don't know if it will be. I don't know. I can't predict the future on this one. We're in new territory here, but I think there'll be a shift on what we take in for entertainment. And I think I'll say it again, there's a huge factor out there that these streaming wars are not considering. Streaming, live streaming, people live streaming like you and me. And I don't know if people will get tired. I think parts of it, I think interests will shift. But I think this very easy way for us to interact with each other now isn't going away. And it's going to be very hard. It's already very hard for the news to compete with that. And that's why YouTube has done everything to, oh my God, I was watching a quartering video and it went into a live news broadcast. Like that was the next video of some, shooting. And I'm like, what the, got rid of it. I'm like, and I have never clicked on anything news ever on YouTube. I I click not interested when I see CBS, NBC, and all them. There's that little 3 dots you can click, not interested. I'm always clicking that. So how did that come right after a quartering video when I usually get like a Clownfish TV or a Doomcock video or something like that? I got the news, the live news. But they're trying real hard. But listen, it's dying. I don't want to say his name, but the person who brought on the last problem we had here on YouTube, it looks like he's getting canned from his job, and it's looking like it's because of cutbacks and budget cuts. And I noticed Gizmodo's having that problem too. Yeah, the access media is dying, and there's no better example than that Deadline puff piece for CBS that I just read at the beginning of this live stream. God, it was terrible. But thank you, Andy. That was great. Nova Roma. Where were you? What's up? What's up, Iron Duke? Hang on. I'll get right to you. Nova Roma. Star Trek The Wrath of Khan gave me an ear infection. How did it give you? The Wrath of Khan gave you an ear infection? How? Oh, I get you. Oh, because he put something at your checkoff. I get you. Now it took me a second. See, I got you. Well, you better clean it out. I hope there was some peroxide involved there. This little Q-tip, little swab. I'm sorry, Captain. Peter Ford for $1.99. I bet you're a Steely Dan fan too. Oh God, no. No, I am not. No. Dan Fogelberg, man. Dan Fogelberg. Just kidding. No, I don't like those either. Alan Massey. That's music that my parents were listening to when I was a kid. The Cuervo Gold. I've been watching for about 5 months now, and I was wondering if you used to own a comic shop. It's hard to tell. Alan Massey for $5. That's a secret. It's a secret, Alan. I'm not gonna tell you. Maybe not. There is a meme though. Hang on. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. Hang on. What do I want? Image capture? Window capture? We can do image window capture. Oh, that's not it. There it is. Here, we can get that like that. There you go. You like that? Somebody really didn't like me, but took the time to do this, and I love it. Of course, there'll be a restraining order follow. You know, that's the kind of not like that's actually like, if you know what I'm saying. If you're ever in high school and the girl you met in class and she always hated you and gave you the dirty looks, and then 2 weeks later you were making out. Yeah, you got to watch out for that kind of stuff. But yeah, I might have mentioned that I used to own a comic shop here in San Francisco for 10 years. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Alan. At least you spell Alan right. That's my middle name, Alan. TJ Paris for $10. CBS bet big on Trek to carry their streaming service and lost. They are spending a lot of promoting on other projects. Discovery needs to get revealed as a holodeck exercise at Starfleet and start over. That's great. That's a great idea, and that is true. Just as a fan who observes things once in a while. CBS and Viacom, Paramount and MGM, and they can buy Lionsgate and Stars, and they will still be a drop in the bucket compared to Disney, Amazon, Netflix, and HBO Max. They just don't have the properties to take them on. CBS, so if they took on Lionsgate, and Stars, and they have all the Viacom properties. They own a stake of CW, but so does Warner Brothers. So I don't know who owns what, but all the stuff that makes CW money is owned by Warner Brothers. So CW wouldn't be worth very much if the Arrowverse left it tomorrow. So they have Star Trek and Mission Impossible. That's what they were talking about. So Disney has Marvel, Star Wars, the Orville. They have their own stuff that they can remake until the end of time. Amazon has Lord of the Rings. Warner Media, they have DC. They had Game of Thrones. They got a Game of Thrones prequel. More stuff that you could say. And then there's NBC Universal out there, which is bigger than CBS. CBS was a big broadcasting corporation. I think they're going to find it hard to work with other people, but they're probably going to have to. Sherry Redstone might be this big badass, and hopefully, they're in for the long haul. But, if the streaming wars last 10 years, they might have a chance, but they're not going to last 10 years. I think people are already pretty decided on how many things they're going to subscribe to, and it's going to be probably 3 or 4 to the max. Some of you won't subscribe to anything. I've seen that a lot, that you're done. You're not giving these people any more money, which is good. Dan Reese for Australian $5. Have you listened to the War Doctor yet? I feel robbed. We never got a season of John Hurt. He does in one episode what Jodie couldn't in one season. I haven't listened to my War Doctor yet, but I do have it. God. Yeah, I normally would have hated the War Doctor move, but I like John Hurt, and I think he did a great job. I think he did a great job in the 50th anniversary, despite Clara. Nomad's cheap and nerdy for $1.99. Not much, but thanks for the iTunes podcast. Well, you're welcome. I'm a little behind on those. I'll get caught up. I got to upload a bunch of stuff on the website tonight, and that will happen. Thanks for listening on iTunes. I think you might be the second person to tell me that you listen to the, because I put everything, even my videos, on iTunes, just in case you want to listen on iTunes. That's cool. Right on. Chief Cook for $19.99. This is how Star Trek. This is how to save Star Trek reboot TNG right after the Undiscovered Country about 10 or 20 years earlier in the century. Have an old crew pass the torch to the new crew with the new Enterprise. Look up Spencer Enterprise. Look up Spencer Enterprise on YouTube. Okay, gotcha. I will. Thank you. 99 Iron Dirk. 99 Iron Duke. I am tired. I have been in this room all day sweating. It was not pretty. So glad my camera was not on. Australian $5. Gary, would you try to get William Shatner to at least guest star on the Orville? The salt from the STD alone would be wonderful. I have been trying to hint that. I mean, I have no influence at all, but I will mention it once a month. And there is a petition to get him on the Orville. And I think it's possible. Just a little cameo as an admiral or something. Maybe he could be Seth MacFarlane's granddad. Mercer's granddad. That would be great. Or maybe Kelly's granddad or something. Glinzer for $5. The recommendations on Young Ripa 59's channel are often preschool kiddie shows. That's YouTube for it. Yeah, that happens after you live stream a lot to a lot of people, and it's creepy. It's creepy. Don't ever watch one of those, by the way. I did out of curiosity, and it's like Teletubbies, but really evil. There's something subliminal trying to steal your soul within there. It's like Mr. Chuckleteeth. Matt Joseph for $2. All the Kurtzman talk. Take it you saw The Mummy. Matt, there you are. I've made it through 17 minutes. I can't. I'm doing it in little intervals. It's terrible. It's so terrible. And they are giving this guy Star Trek. I can't believe it. Oh, my God. It's so freaking bad. Thank you, Matt. Luke, for Australian $5. Would you consider reviewing Stargate SG-1 for seasons 1, 3, 4, 7 format? And there's Atlantis, a spinoff on par with the main series. I would. I've heard so much good about it. I would. As I bang my keyboard here. Luke, thank you. Yeah, I would. My Patreon finally got some new tiers, and they're all going to be basically just I was giving away comics and stuff. Those all sold out. I have some comics to sell to fulfill everything. That's why I'm going to keep the old tiers up, but they're long sold out. So the new tiers have interesting pricing because I can't, it's like there's a $4 tier and a $9 tier. And the $4 tier is where you will get Doctor Who reviews and commentaries. And the $9 tier is you get, what is it? A Song of Ice and Fire, chapter commentaries, plus all the previous stuff. But I'm going to be doing Expanse, Lord of the Rings, and A Song of Ice and Fire book and show and movie commentaries and stuff. And I'm also going to throw in extra stuff like Stargate and Farscape. But you know, that when I get a chance, but that's going to be like monthly, bi-monthly stuff. Here on the main channel when I can. It'll probably be part of a live stream. I'll probably talk about it on a live stream. I don't think I'll do a separate video on it, but I would definitely check it out. Did you see the Salon.com article interview with Derek Robertson about The Boys? Only 10% of it is about the show. And let me guess, the other 90% is about politics. Yes. That's why I don't read Salon.com. There's a reason I don't. TJ Paris, I do not read Salon.com ever, because they were promoting the P to the E to the D to the O crap. So I will not click on that site. I will not look at that site. They are horrible site. Howell Ferguson, Canadian $2. Thank you very much. I do have a lot of progressive friends. I have a lot of friends who are Trump supporters. I don't care about politics. I don't watch the news. I don't care about politics. I have no control over any of that crap. But I like freedom, free speech, freedom of expression. And just, I've said it before, you know, I won't tell you what to do. You don't tell me what to do. We're cool. We're good. Thank you, Howell Ferguson, for the Canadian $2 peso, 2 Canadian pesos. Riff Mogus for Magus for Australian $5. I'm weird perhaps, but compared to STD, I've enjoyed rewatching Enterprise. Thoughts? Oh no, you're not weird. I'm right there with you. I was very hard on Enterprise after watching STD. I have softened incredibly on that show to the point where I enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's not perfect, but like, you know, the original series is perfect. But no other Star Trek series is perfect. But I love DS9. Freaking love DS9. Michael Maloney for $10. The best we can hope for the Viacom merger is that they let Trek lay dormant for 2 or 3 years and let it heal. Yep. A lot of people don't want to hear that, but Kurtzman, I mean, the people who actually like Star Trek Discovery, you think that's the future of Star Trek? You think that's going to be remembered in decades? Do you think that's going to be remembered in 5 years? When I just laid out an example of what Kurtzman does is make disposable entertainment. You don't want your franchises that you are banking on everything. Everything meaning this franchise needs a legacy. It needs to be remembered. You need to make some classics. You know, with the new series of Doctor Who, there are classics in the first 6 seasons. Classic after classic after classic in the first 6 seasons. Star Trek Discovery, there's a show that almost there's one episode that almost felt like Star Trek, and then it took a turn for the worse at the end. $9.99, but the message was retracted. I'm sorry. Was that YouTube? You can put it in the chat. I'll read it. Whoever it was. Joe Packer for $10. Lucas put Poison Pill in Disney contract that they could never change original trilogy. Lucas said he would not allow the originals to be released again and only the special editions. That is what's been reported. That is what's been reported. But yeah, I could see that, and I could also see him getting residuals on the original characters. But I mean, like, you can find the originals out there. That's possible. But as far as, and I've heard that before, there's no confirmation of that. Just as there's no confirmation that he gets residuals off the original characters. It's just something that I can believe. I can certainly believe that's the case. The thing is, the pro Star Wars people, the pro Star Trek people, I think they know they're being lied to, and they're just like, okay. They're like, look, the Access Media said it so. Settled. Okay. I mean, there's some naivete there, part of being young or being part of the system or believing the system. And yeah, I'm jaded, but, I try not to run with complete bullshit. I just try to entertain a thought. I certainly can believe George Lucas would keep a piece of the original, because that would be a very good business decision. So I could see it being true. And that's all, and I can see the 25% difference with Bad Reboot and Secret Hideout being true. Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense, because there's things that don't make sense. Why you've gone so far away from Star Trek, and why you don't have original characters, and so many things where you could be making money. Like, it's not a smart business decision. So, and listen, as far as the Galaxy's Edge thing, what's been thrown back at me? They have characters there. There's a Watto plushie. A Watto plushie. Oh, okay. I guess Lucas, I forget it. I'll pull down the video, because there's a Watto plushie in one of the stores. That was funny. So for the people who are like, there's original series characters in Galaxy's Edge, there's the Watto plushies. Please refer to my walkthrough video where I was at Galaxy's Edge and I walked around, and tell me how many original trilogy recognizable characters you see in that video. Come back and report to me. For all the people who threw the Watto plushie at me, I was there. I was freaking there. Yes, I did find prequel droids, and I found something from Return of the Jedi, but you had to look. So the battle droids that they have, they're in a cage, and they're all like broken down, like they're going to be scrapped. They're off to the side of one hallway, kind of behind the soy milk bar. You can find them there. And there's a couple of other things you can find, but there's nothing else. Zero. There's only one show. It's a Kylo Ren show where he comes out and goes, "You find those scummy rebels," or not rebels, resistance, blah, 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 and walks up a ship, and that's it. It's like over in 5 seconds. And they repeat it every 15 minutes. And nobody was watching it. Like, nobody. The line for the Millennial Falcon was incredibly short, and the ride is horrible. It's terrible. Almost as bad as Jeremy's piloting, but not quite as bad. Now the ride was horrible despite Jeremy's horrible piloting. But he probably wasn't into it, and I don't blame him. I'm just kidding. Jeremy did a fine job piloting. Nova Roma for $1.99. Burn It also a new... Oh, boy, that just jumped on me. Burn It also a new Siffy can rise from the ashes. Yes, burn it all. A new Siffy, new sci-fi. I love the old Sci-Fi Channel. I did, even though they did cancel Farscape. But I loved Hulk reruns. Those were great. Perpetual Punster for $10. Hail, Gary. For the Doctor Who 50th, I wanted to see how the Doctor could become someone who could commit war crimes instead of drank a drug and regenerated into the War Doctor. I walked away at that point. Perpetual Punster, I was caught up in the hypnosis. I would have much rather have seen Eccleston and seen that story. Instead, yeah. Absolutely. Sorry, hang on. I have to answer something here. Dun, 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 dun. And then bringing back the Sisterhood of Karn too. I mean, which was cool, but interesting timing. We'll just say with that. What you look back on stuff, or at least I do. I look back on stuff, and you can see this. There's a bunch of stuff that predates Weinstein, but you can see the wokeness and the agenda like building up prior to 2016 and some stuff, especially in BBC stuff. This has been building up for a while. So I think we're just at the tail end of the trend, but I mean, like, people are done. I mean, like, there's other things to do. That's the thing, is we're in this kind of golden age of television, but it feels like it's ending. We got a lot of good series canceled, and there's a lot of garbage right now. And this constant argument of like Star Trek and Doctor Who being successful. The successful. What's success? The MCU was successful. Would you say Doctor Who? Would you equate Doctor Who and Star Trek's success with the MCU? And not as successful, not as money, but pretty much universally loved. Let's say prior to Infinity War. How would you compare Star Trek and Doctor Who to that? Star Wars. Star Wars is not successful anymore either. These are dead, burnt, and they got burnt out. Star Wars got burnt out. There's different reasons. Game of Thrones season 8, was that successful? I mean, a lot of people watched it. It made a lot of money. Was it successful? Because success, when it comes to art, especially when you want to continue something with a legacy or a prequel, it's not only measured with money. There has to be some, not even critical success. Fans, there has to be a large majority of the fans has to like it and want to consume it more, to the people who like to use the word consumers. I don't think people will be eating up this Game of Thrones prequel. Just saying. Howell Ferguson for Canadian $5. Hugh, the Next Generation and original series fan, but I'm Doctor Who curious. Could I hear a pitch? Huge. I'm sorry, Hugh. You're Doctor Who curious. And what type of pitch? Just check out, I would start out with the modern series. If you're new to Doctor Who and you've never watched it before, I would start with the modern series, start with Eccleston, work your way up. If you can make it past season 5, definitely start digging into the old stuff. Start with the third Doctor, John Pertwee, and then that will work you up to Tom Baker. And if you can make it past John, and then you could start diving into the old stuff. But, I think for somebody who's never watched Doctor Who before, I would never recommend a classic first. You got to work your way up to that. I think they're great. They're wonderful, but it's of its time, and it's something you got to work to, and you got to dive into the Doctor Who universe. And honestly, the Russell T Davies era, he made so many new Doctor Who fans and did it beautifully. So go with that. Eccleston is brilliant in that first season. He's he's gone after the first season, but then you get Tennant afterwards. And it's so good. And at the time, I didn't recognize that I was watching like classic television, like all time great television. Kind of like, the latter years of Buffy and Angel. But better. I think Doctor Who's better. After what happened to Lucas's divorce just after the first trilogy, where his ex got 50% of Wars for 10 years, he's keeping an interest in Wars is very likely. Says Michael Maloney for $10. Yeah. He called Disney white slavers. He called them white slavers. No, Well, I think he took all the griping about the prequels, which I was part of. I did it. He took it personally. I think he was kind of soured on the fandom after that. But that's the double-edged sword of fandom. I mean, he's also a billionaire because of that fandom. So I hope he keeps that in mind. It's just, you know what? I look at George just from the outside, and he just doesn't look like the happiest guy in the world, does he? He doesn't look happy. He's just kind of always sour, and when he laughs, it doesn't reach his eyes. Yeah, maybe that's just his personality. He doesn't strike me as a cheery guy. Which I don't know. You'd think having everything you need and having your every need met forever, not having to worry about a damn thing, shows that human beings need some kind of strife in their life to be motivated. Motorlicious. I was out of the country for both seasons of Marvel's Legion in the first run. I just discovered the show. Is this series completely done? Yes. They talked about an idea for season 4, but it's done on Fox. Motorlicious for $5. It's a good series. But it's done. Noah Hawley's brilliant. He wants to do a Doctor Doom movie. I would say let him. Some nobody for $5. By way of rumor, I hear Disney Family still gets a high percentage of the park revenue. There's a theory that if the parks collapse, the whole brand collapses. Disney is certainly too big to fail at this point, especially with all the mergers. I don't know if it'll collapse, but this is something if you dig way back on my channel, my co-host hated when I did these, but I used to run with stuff anyway. I didn't care if my co-host liked it because I did most of the talking anyway. But I did a couple podcasts called Star Wars versus Marvel, where I didn't even talk about the wokeness or agenda. I just talked about just from a business point of view. Again, I've never run a multi-billion-dollar business, but I've ran a small business. And when you take on such huge properties, just common sense will tell you it costs you a lot of money to produce these things. So they need to be running on all full cylinders. These can't be running half-ass, or you either got to put one away for a little while. Oops, almost knocked over my base. You got to put one away for a little while and let it sit, so you can kind of like what Star Trek needs to do, or you need to sell it. Disney bought sports franchises in the 90s. They had to sell them because they almost got crushed underneath the weight of them. Same damn thing could happen. They are in so much debt right now. Right now, everything's safe because Disney Plus, everybody's kind of waiting and seeing for the Disney Plus. If Disney Plus, and I don't think it'll fail, and I think they'll give it a lot of time. It's going to take 5 years to get it going, for it to make money, any kind of money at all, minimum. But if Disney Plus for some reason fails completely, I can see them selling Marvel, a piece of Marvel, selling, parts of whatever Fox, Aliens or something, something to generate some quick revenue. It's a possibility. I'm not saying it is going to happen, but it's a possibility. It's happened in the past. They sold the Angels. They sold the Mighty Ducks. They sold the Big A, because they had to. But see, that's the cool thing about, like I said, that's the beauty of this channel, and we can talk about whatever the hell we want. And we don't have to worry about, oh my God, what are people going to think in Hollywood? What are they going to think? Who cares? This is how I'd save star. Hang on. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Did I just miss those two? I'm making sure I got everything. All right. Let's get to the chat a little bit here. It's 8. Oh my God, it's 8. It's still sunny. It throws me off. Quack, 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 quack. What's up? Midnight's Edge After Dark. Lori, good point. So Marvel movies turn into B movies. I don't know. Maybe they'll go direct to video. Marvel's, I'm not excited. There's supposed to be some big announcement at D23. which is, when is D23? 2 weeks from now, right? D23 Expo. I thought for like half a second of going, and then I'm not going to go. No, I'm done going to freaking shows, man. I'm still behind. I traveled 2 weeks in a row. Everything's sold out, but you can get tickets on StubHub right now. It's August 23rd through 25th. And on the banner is Black Panther, Frozen, and R2-D2. Here, I'll show you. Where? Nope, that's not it. There we go. Oh, why is it so huge now? God damn it. Well, here's the banner. Oh, where'd it go? I'm not going to shrink this thing down. Oh, now the banner just completely disappeared. There we go. So, I guess, is Frozen still coming out? Not that I care, but there we go. At least they give R2-D2 some love. I mean, it's been so long since we even recognized that he's a character. I wonder if George gets a residual for that, though. I wonder if he does. Oh, shit. I moved my... Why did I do that? Boomer. Hang on. Boom. Boom goes the boomer. God, I can't wait to set up my new computer. I really can't. Always leave your audience wanting more. Too bad Hollywood has forgotten the old stage maxim. Now it's always leave your audience frustrated. Yeah, and attack them. Don't forget, always leave your audience frustrated and then attack them on the internet and call them man babies. Frozen 2, yeah. So Frozen 2 is coming out still. So Disney's still going to make a lot of money this year. That won't be woke. That won't be woke at all. Again, let's give you the double Q. There, look at that. Double Q. I've got my 1/6 scale TARDIS set up right there. I got to get the other one out. I freaking got my Nazgul on a horse figure. It's so beautiful. It is so beautiful. All right, so if we're caught up with the super chats, a shadowy sage for $1.99. Did you see my earlier question, Gary? No, I must have not. Hang on. Now I got some new stuff here. Was it a super chat? Okay, there you go. For $19.99. Formerly Diwanu Minfer. Okay, I went back to school for creative writing and trying hard not to suck. I'm a vet, a nerd, black, and not woke. So where do I go to be creative? Will I have to be an independent? For $19.99, that you need to start being creative on your own anyway. So that's where you need to start. It's kind of up to you. But yeah, if you're not woke, you're not going to get a job right now. Not anywhere where you would. I don't know, but you wouldn't want to work there, would you? I would work on your own stuff right now. Hone your skill, work on your own stuff. But part of making it in Hollywood is playing the game before you can change the rules. And man, you would have to. Now, in some places, it's not as bad, but maybe hitch your wagon to something that's non-woke. I don't know. I don't know the answer. That's a tough question right now because entertainment's in a bad way. I'm sorry to say. I wish it weren't. Chief Cook for $9.99. Sorry, Gary. I meant earlier 21st Century put on the Paramount Network. Look up Spencer Enterprise on YouTube. This ship is better than Enterprise D and a new crew where... Okay. Gotcha. I'll look it up. I will look it up. Thank you, Chief Cook, for the $9.99. So yeah, I did miss the other one. It jumped on me. Technocratic concentration camp for Australian $30.99. I live in Australia and I have desperately been trying to find an online streaming service to watch the original classic series William Hartnell and Sylvester McCoy. BritBox. Please, can you tell the audience, don't you have BritBox in Australia? It's attached to, I'm sure you've got to have BritBox in Australia. Let's see. That doesn't exist over there? BBC and IFTV have teamed up to launch a new video on demand streaming service, BritBox. At the moment, the new service is only available in the States. Luckily, if you are a fan of the British TV, you can bypass geographic restrictions and watch BritBox in the UK, Canada, Australia, or anywhere in the world. So get yourself a VPN and sign up for BritBox. That would be the best way to go. Otherwise, gonna sail the high seas, Evaski scurvy wenches. Mitch Sansom for $1.99. Do you think the Spawn movie will be woke? Yeah, probably. Probably because of the film. I don't know. McFarlane's never struck me as woke, but he's a creative, so it's the possibility is there. Isn't Jamie Foxx in it? Jamie Foxx, who went and supported a Venezuelan dictator. Jamie Foxx, that guy. Yeah, I think it has a propensity of being woke. Chief Cook, $1.99. Gary, you missed my super chat. You live streaming freeze. I'm doing them out of order, Chief Cook, so I'm not finished with them yet. So hang tight, buddy. I've got a couple to get back to. I'm just going to the one that's in front of me. I read that one. Get your hands on some Babylon 5. B5 is a piece of history of when network television was at its prime, offering sci-fi. I like getting my comic book store chat fix here. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Gary. You're welcome, Trooper Bear. FN2525. Thank you for the $10. It's brilliant. Yes, and it's comic book shop talk. The Big Red Bear for Canadian $5. Buying Fox was a poison pill. They spent 2 times as much for Fox as it's worth. Yes, $70 billion. What did they really get out of it? Not $70 billion worth. No, they paid $70 billion for the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. Vastly overpaying for those things. They overpaid for Star Wars. They shouldn't have paid that much for Star Wars. And making your money back, you don't buy something for billions of dollars to just make your money back. You buy it so you can make money forever on it. And you could have. One simple thing you did wrong. You know what? You can make bad films. You can make bad TV shows. You fill them full of agenda. You alienate fans forever. You make a bad TV show. You don't alienate anybody. People go, it sucks. But, I mean, look at Star Trek fans. They will come back to the trough in fewer numbers, but they'll come back. But it's pretty dead. It's pretty dead. We're going ahead with Kurtzman. I have not seen one single example of Kurtzman succeeding with Star Trek yet. And again, if you don't want to listen to me, listen to other YouTubers about that. Thank you, Big Red Bear. So what was the one? So there's a message retracted, but I think I saw it. Awesome. Okay. So I think I've got everything now. Thank you, Mitch Sampson, for $1.99. Technocratic Concentration Camp. Thank you for Australian $3.99. You know what? Technocratic Concentration Camp. If you can't VPN the BritBox, shoot me an email. Shoot me an email. But I'm pretty sure you can VPN that because that's how I watched that's how I unfortunately watched all the Jodie Doctor Who live over in when it aired. Because when I do cover, I will cover every episode live right after it airs, as I've done in the past, in the UK. So when it's done airing in the UK, and then I do an American version later that night. So I actually do 2 reviews. By way of rumor, Disney Family gets a high percentage. I read that one. Some nobody. Okay. I'm caught up. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for being here, Tom. I saw you. Let's see who my wrench is. Chris Persia, Midnight's Edge After Dark, Mary Ashmead, Mark Lazurth, any other wrenches present? So wrenches, I'm doing a little graphic for you guys. So like now that I've got the OBS thing kind of down, I know it kind of pauses and stuff. That won't do that on my new computer, but the picture's much better. The StreamYard picture sucks. I can't stand it. So I'll use it for streams, but I'm probably going to use Skype or something. I'm just not the StreamYard. They need some, it just doesn't, it's got the nipples. I just want to grab the screen. Looks like I want to change the radio dial, it's not very good. But I mean, I know they're starting out, but yeah. So I'm just looking. I don't see any of my wrenches there, but all my other wrenches. Thank you for all your help. Thank you, Mary, for always being here. And Mark Lazurth is always here. And Chris Persia is brilliant. And Tom from Midnight's Edge. Thanks for having me on earlier. And I will be back probably tomorrow. I'll have a video out tomorrow, but I really can't do shit until I get this office done and get my new computer. But Friday Night Tights, make sure to tune in. The triumphant return of Comics Division. And maybe we'll have somebody else on. I'm not sure. We're going to re-review Avengers Endgame. And it ain't going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. And I've got notes from Nerdrotic Jr. So we're going to get an exclusive Nerdrotic Jr. review of Avengers Endgame. And chip off the old block. Chip off the old block, that kid is. So until then, everybody have a great evening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Go to nerdrotic.com for my live stream schedule when I eventually put it up. Remember to subscribe to iTunes, because this is a podcast. In about 24 hours, it will be turned into an audio version. I do have a Patreon. I can talk about it now because I've got new tiers that have some fun stuff. It's all going to start August 19th, so you got some time to think about it if you want. And I have a Subscribe Star, which will mirror the Patreon eventually. So if you don't want to give Patreon money, I have a Subscribe Star. Also, I have BitChute, DLive, Twitch, but I'm probably going to abandon Twitch because I really don't like, I'm sorry, I don't like the porn stuff there. I'm not a big fan of the porn stuff there, so I'm probably going to abandon Twitch. As much as I thought it would work, I just, I know I got to diversify myself. I'll just do it on DLive or something. I'm not a fan of the porn stuff on Twitch. I know I'm such a prude. I mean, if you enjoy that stuff, no judgment whatsoever. I just, I don't like it. And yeah, that's all. That's all. So everybody have a great, great evening. Thank you again. So many of you tuned in. Thank you for subscribing. Got a bunch of new subscribers from the Star Wars videos. Want to thank my insiders. You guys freaking rock. Man, they are chiming in on this Viacom deal. And that's why I'm so discouraged. I can leave you with this. I'll leave you with this. I'll read you a little bit of what my insiders told me on the Viacom thing. And Doomcock ran with some of this on the video as well. So I'm sure all of you watched Doomcock's video today, right? I mean, I hope you did. That's my boy. I want to get subscribed to Doomcock. I wanted to get him to 42,000 subs. That's a good number right there, right? We need to get Doomcock. So all hail Doomcock on that one. But I'll leave you with this. I'm trying to get it up. I'm not going to show it on screen, obviously. Space 1999. They're going to reboot Space 1999. Oh, here we go. Now I got to click on this. Okay. Very simple. People running CBS still want, Anello still wants Kurtzman. He is not prepared to admit that he screwed up. If they order a movie after the merger, that extends all contracts for 3 years. Yep. And I know Doomcock reported that one. Kurtzman has pitched Star Trek Discovery movies, and he was laughed out of the room. Apparently. I don't know if they laugh people out of the room. That one I'm like, I think they just, that's not how people do things in Hollywood. They talk long shit behind your back, but they don't like generally mock you in the room. They might have laughed after he left or something like that, but just my experience is nobody has the nads to do anything face to face there at all. They just know they're anti, QT movie's not happening at all. So don't get your hopes up for it. It's dead in the water. And it looks like, but for the fact JJ can pitch whatever he wants to Paramount until such time as Paramount greenlights something else without him. Well, I'm sure JJ's free to pitch whatever the hell he wants. But for the fact that Paramount is being forced to merge with CBS, with Bad Robot's if they order a movie whilst Bad Robot has a contract with CBS after the merger, it triggers a 3-year extension on the contract for both film and TV. That's according to my insider. So Bad Robot, even though it has been reported JJ has moved off to Warner Brothers, which I can believe, but I'll give you an example. Dan and Dave have an overall deal with Netflix, but they're still making Star Wars stuff. So people can work at multiple places. I can certainly believe this. The JJ aesthetic is here to stay, folks. Sorry to say that. We'll leave it there. Endgame featuring Captain Lost in Election. Modalicious, thank you. If bad reboot buys Trek, it kind of owns it now, and it owns it without owning it. Matthew. But yeah, that would be terrible. I'd be over. All right. Okay. This is the long goodbye. So, goodbye now, everybody. Have a great day. See you in the next video. And not all who wander are lost.